Reena Jadhav here at /X Invent Health, and I have with me founder CEO of Cognoa, Brent Vaughan. Hi Brent, welcome.
Thanks very much.
So tell us a little bit about Cognoa. What do you guys do?
Yeah, so we are a pediatric behavioral health company, and we develop digital medicines, both diagnostics and therapeutics, to help with behavioral health conditions, and we work both with parents and with their physicians to get earlier treatments and better outcomes for kids.
We were chatting a little bit before we hit record, and it was a fascinating conversation, but the thing that really concerned me was the age group. So tell our listeners, what is the age group that you start with? And let's talk a little bit about what is it that you help do.
Yeah, for sure. So in pediatric behavioral health, there's a number of different indications. And the first indication that we're focused on is autism. So the key with autism is to provide earlier detection and earlier intervention. And I think one of the things that most people don't understand in the space is that parents see what ends up being the signs and symptoms of autism, and they see it quite early. And so the idea that there's these helicopter parents that think everything is wrong is just not true. Huge studies have come out that show when parents see early signs, it's the #1 most indicative factor of a child who gets a diagnosis for autism or ADHD later. And so the CDC tracks this and tells us that the parents see it on average at 18 months of age.
18 months, if you didn't catch that.
Yeah, so very young, right?
Amazing.
And all the research in the last 20 years has shown in the case of autism, if you can start these kids in treatment at the age of 2, the kids that start treatment and have treatment between the ages of 2 and 4, it changes the trajectory for the rest of their lives. 25% of these kids have been shown to lose the autism diagnosis. 75% of them will be able to attend mainstream schools by the age of 6.
Wow.
And if you start working with these kids at the age of 5 or 6, after this window of just rapid brain development, you don't see nearly the improvement. So starting just a couple years early changes the life of these kids, and yet the average age of diagnosis in the United States is over 4.
Probably when they get to school and the teacher notices something.
Part of that, certainly, but pediatricians don't have any tool to diagnose these kids, so they refer them to specialists. When a pediatrician tells you, oh, there might be something going on here, let's refer this to a specialist.
Right.
The average wait in the U.S. for a specialist to see your child, over a year.
Oh my God.
And so in that whole time, parents spend 2 years going through this long waiting list, and they get to the end, and when their child receives a diagnosis of autism, they're told early intervention can make huge strides, but you miss the window waiting on.
That's heartbreaking. So what do you guys do? How do you come in and save the day?
Exactly. So when we looked at this, we thought what you really need to do is you need to eliminate the line.
Right.
When we first started the company, we met with one of the heads of development of pediatrics for Nationwide Children's Hospital, one of the biggest children's hospitals. And he told me this powerful story, which really helps us think about the company. He said every week when he's seeing kids in the clinic, he will meet with parents and a child, and he'll walk down the hallway to the room where they start doing the multi-hour assessment to diagnose these kids. And even though it takes hours to diagnose these kids, he says at least 12 times a week, in the time it takes to walk down the hallway, he will diagnose that kid. Because some of these kids he can diagnose quickly. And he said, when I open up their record and I see they've been waiting 15 months and not getting care, it just breaks my heart.
Oh no, it's horrible.
And so what we did is we started a company by spinning technology out of Harvard. We're an AI and machine learning based company that is developing the world's first medical device that will diagnose kids with autism and allow pediatricians to do it without ever spinning the hearing records.
That's very remarkable. What kind of results have you seen so far?
So far we've completed 4 blinded clinical studies across multiple centers, and each version of the algorithm has increasingly improved its ability to diagnose.
And how does it actually work? So you have a child do some kinds of activities on time?
So we have the parent provide information in the same way they would when they talk to a clinician.
Okay.
And then we have the parent upload short videos of the child doing the same types of activities that the child does as part of the diagnostic regimen.
Okay.
We then extract the features from both of those and use machine learning to provide a diagnosis and be able to provide that straight back to the pediatrician.
I think that's the power of AI, right? That right there is why there's such excitement around the power of AI. It's to get rid of the lines and the waiting periods and all these issues that we have where you have to wait for a human physician and automate it. So clearly there's a lot of potential here.
Right.
How far out are you? How many patients have you diagnosed, or how many children have you put through your system?
Yeah, so we've finished 4 clinical studies with about
How many?
With about 1,000 participants across those studies.
Okay.
We've also developed an earlier version of our algorithm which can be used to screen children, and we made that available to parents so that they could directly access
So
it.
that was going to be my next question. To what extent, why don't you just go directly? Why not create an awareness campaign where there might be parents who don't even know to go and ask the physician, and this way you can reach them?
So that's what we did at the beginning to
Oh, I see.
help 300,000 parents to do it. When we first started the company, I had multiple VCs and investors say, huge problem,
Yeah.
but we don't think parents are very aware.
Right.
We don't think they'll ever get 6,000 sign up for it. Right? When we got 250,000, those same people said, huge problem, always knew it was a huge problem. Right? And for us, once we realized that the business model was not just screening these kids, because if you screen more kids, you just made the waiting list worse, right?
Yeah.
You put more people into it. We continue to develop the AI to the point where we actually provide a diagnosis. To provide a diagnosis in the United States and to be able to have a label claim that you can diagnose and treat kids, that is a medical device. And so we put it in front of the FDA, they agreed it was a medical device, they granted us breakthrough designation, just last quarter, thank you very much. And so now we're getting ready to start our registration trial, and we expect to have that complete and submit it to the FDA for clearance before the end of the year.
Got it. So far it sounds like you've been focused more on the diagnosis side. What about the treatment side?
So, exciting area for us. Our second product that we're developing is an augmented reality-based digital therapeutic for children on the autism spectrum. We just last month received breakthrough designation from the FDA for this as well. So we have breakthrough for both our diagnosis and our treatment. When we diagnose these kids, the way the AI engine works to diagnose is we map these kids out in three-dimensional space. And so besides just seeing autism or not, we can start to see the different types of autism, the different factors that are driving it. One of the major factors that you see in autism and what kind of defines the autistic characteristics is a lack of social recognition and social responsiveness. People often think of autism as a social interaction disorder, right? And so we have developed, working with our scientific founder who has a lab here at Stanford, we have worked with him to develop an augmented reality digital therapeutic that we just had a publication with the first clinical study with Stanford that published in Journal of American Medical Association Pediatrics last week.
Nice.
And it showed that we were able to have children use the therapy at home with their parents and get outcomes on clinically validated measures just like a drug study.
Wow.
And the degree of outcomes that we got in these children match up with the outcomes you see published in people that are developing drugs in the space.
Very exciting.
Yeah,
Very
cool.
exciting. Why did you get started with what's your inspiration to do this company?
Yeah, I think that my background is in diagnostics and therapeutics, and I've always kind of thought about using technology to address unmet medical needs. I got a chance to meet the scientific founder while I was still at Harvard and I'd worked in neurodegenerative diseases before, and I saw the chance to, a lot of technology gets applied towards metabolic disease and cardiovascular disease, and I saw a chance to come in pediatrics and work at a place where when you were able to change the trajectory of a condition, it could have a lifelong impact.
And that's on children.
Yeah, and it's a huge unmet need, and we seemed...
And it's growing. I mean, the MIT professor that gave that research report on, I think it's 1 in 4 children will be diagnosed autistic in the next couple of decades.
1 in 4 with a developmental delay, and 1 in 40 now with autism, right? So 10% of those kids, 10% of those kids with delay of autism. And so we saw a chance where that was a huge unmet need, and we realized we had access to the technology from Harvard to do something in an area where no one was doing anything. And that was exciting.
Very cool. All right, for those of our founders out there that are listening to you for inspiration, what are the couple of tips you can give them in creating a digital health company?
Yeah, well, it's hard, right? And I think that a couple things. I think you need to decide who your customer really is, right? Is your customer the physician? Is your customer going to be the insurance company? Is your company going to be the patient? And in our case, the customer is the patient, but also the parent, because 2-year-olds don't make a lot of buying decisions like this. And then I think the next thing you need to decide is who's going to pay for it. Healthcare is one of those areas where sometimes the user and the payer are very different. And we decided early on when we were engaging with hundreds of thousands of parents that in this space, parents very much wanted to know that their insurance was going to cover their intervention and that their physician trusted it. Right? The bond between patient or parent and pediatrician is very strong. And you've got to be really careful about disintermediating something like that. And so we decided early on that we were going to be routinely prescribed by physicians, and we wanted to be routinely covered by insurance. And once you decide to do those things, that takes you down a very different path than if you decide to be a direct-to-consumer, self-pay product. And you need to decide those early on, because even though the indication you're going after might be the same, those are two completely different products.
Oh, absolutely. And you obviously have chosen to be going after institutions and not necessarily direct to consumer, which means you have to get something else to write your check, which is obviously these insurance companies. Any tricks on that? How'd you pull that off?
I think, understanding unmet need, making sure that you're solving a problem that is a big enough problem that it affects enough patients, and ultimately, if it's a big enough problem, there will be dollars around the current standard of care, and show that you can change it. And part of the reason we decided to go insurance companies is that we don't want to just help some kids, right? We don't want to sell a product for thousands of dollars that the wealthy can afford. We want to change the standard of care for every kid, right? And so for us to do that, we decided when you change the standard of care, you don't change the economics by, you don't decrease it 20%, you don't cut it in half. You try to figure out how to remove zero from the equation, right? You move the needle a lot. And if you're changing the standard of care and improving outcomes for a large number of patients, ultimately that should be valuable enough to get the payer's attention.
Got it. All right. Well, thank you so much.
You bet.
Enjoy the conference.
Thank you.